Welcome to the Insurance Stream. I'm your host, Dave Bowling. Good to be with you today. It is Thursday, February 15th, 2024. And today we are talking to the author of the book, The Unstoppable Profit Producer. If you haven't read it, you should. We're going to tell you how to get a free copy of it too inside the episode. Today's episode is sponsored by Viva Virtual Assistants. If you are looking for insurance trained, insurance specialized, remote virtual assistants, Viva makes it easy for you. Go to theinsurancestream.com, click on services for your agency, click on virtual assistants. It'll get you hooked up with those folks over there at Viva Virtual Assistants. We appreciate the sponsorship today. Welcome to the Insurance Stream. I'm your host, Dave Bowling. Today, I am here with the author of a book that I've read. It was great. It's called The Unstoppable Profit Producer. And Mike, I'm happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. We were just talking before we got rolling here. I read your entire book on a flight from Phoenix to Orlando. So, obviously there's like a million miles of depth in the book, right? Because we're just like, kind of going over the big picture items when we're looking at, the different recommendations you make and things like that in the book. And I was telling you too, I thumbed through it before the flight because I always try and grab a book when I go on a flight because I like reading. And so, when I look through a lot of books by people who are proclaimed industry experts. And my history is, a lot of our audience knows, and I shared a little bit with you. My wife and I had an agency. We grew it. We expanded to 5 states, and it was acquired in 2020. And so, obviously in that process, there's a lot of things that we found that worked really, really well. And I saw enough of what I had done in that book to be like, this guy knows what he's talking about, and I'm going to read the whole thing. And I got so much more out of it than my experience level. So it was like definitely a jump in advancement and some awesome recommendations in there. So I appreciate you writing it. And but I knew that you knew what you were talking about, and so I read it. And now we're going through and rereading the sections and really zooming in and just taking line by line and detail by detail. Give us, because I'm assuming a lot of our listeners that are tuning into this, they do not know who you are, and give me like the sky view of who you are and your experience in the industry.
Well, first of all, it's an honor and privilege to be with you today. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful to share. The answer to that question will probably be more than the time we have today. So
I bet.
My name is Mike Stromsoe. I am a proud 100% of my 35 plus year career independent insurance agency entrepreneur. So I have 35 plus years as an independent insurance agency entrepreneur. Back to roughly 2010 in time, a bunch of people said, you've grown your agency, incredibly fast. How did you do it? I said, it's easy. You just do this, this, and this. And they said, will you teach us? I said, I'm not sure I know how to do that. Let me think about it, et cetera, et cetera. They wouldn't leave me alone. So I had to figure it out. And I did figure it out. In 2013, we created the Unstoppable Profit Producer program to help independent insurance agencies through a simple 3-step blueprint philosophy called the 3 Ps: excellent people, world-class processes and systems, and you simply get to promote the heck out of it. When you properly implement those things, you will grow your business, create wealth, sometimes generational wealth, as we've learned, and you will have more freedom to live life on your own terms. It is not that complex when you have a plan and you follow the plan. And that's what we're teaching independent insurance agents today. And just had an agent yesterday who gave us an update after the end of last year. This agent in our program in a little over 3 years has tripled their agency. And it's a significant number now, well over 7 figures. So we're not talking small numbers here. So
yeah,
it's awesome and it's a privilege.
Absolutely. No, and it's so cool that you're doing it, because when you read your book, a lot of the stuff that you see in there, it's like feels like common sense to me. And but it's like common sense that we don't really think about, right? When we're in the day to day and to kind of just going through the grind. Why do you think that insurance has such a high? I mean, I know a high failure rate. And I know, the people, the processes, and promoting. Obviously, probably since the success circles around those three things, the failures, I'm sure, circle around those three things too. But what would you say of the agents that come to you? What's the number one thing that most of them are getting wrong?
That's a great question. And I'm going to say there's more than a couple of things,
Okay.
but, and it's a bit of elusive still. I'm still
Yeah.
looking for that,
Common thread.
there is no magic pill, but that
Sure.
mostly common answer.
Yeah.
It may surround fear,
Okay.
false evidence appearing real, right? And some people may not believe that they can do it. Some people may not have a plan. Some people may not have that inner drive. And our goal is to help people not only believe they can do it, but to, from a vision standpoint, see that they can do it and help them design a plan where they can do it. And I'm going to suggest the 80-20 rules in effect here. The Pareto principle has been around since the 1890s, that 80% of people can do it if they will make a commitment, because commitment is the thing you said you were going to do long after the mood you set it in is past. Make a commitment. And that's where we come in. We stand by their side. And one of the things that we intentionally built into our program is accountability. And we have a director of AFY, Accountability for You, Mr. Joel McKinley, in our program. And he does a great job in not only what we deliver, but he also builds in the accountability on a monthly basis just to say, hey, how can we help you? How can we support you? Is there anything we can do? And just knowing that's coming pushes them forward. So, a lot of people, again, back to answer the question, they may not be sure they can do it. Maybe they've never done something like this before, but two things: the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, number one. But number two, like Mark Twain said, 80% of things that I've worried about in my life never actually happened. So the encouragement always is just go do it. Why not you, and why not now?
How many things did you try because my understanding from your book, and I'm recalling here probably a couple months back, so correct me if I misstep on any of this stuff, is you were doing something else, financially services related or something along those lines. And then you came back, was it your dad's agency that you joined, and then you split off and you started your own agency, and then you blew that up, and then your dad's coming to you going, how did you do all this stuff? All the stuff that, you said would worked, and I didn't think it would work. And so is that a pretty accurate, like, little recap of how it happened?
Mostly. At age 23, I was running a restaurant because I grew up in the restaurant business.
Okay.
At a horse training facility. The horses never asked for a day off, and neither did I.
Yeah.
But, I was missing my wife and two young children at the time. And I felt really inadequate, as a husband and a father. Yeah. And so I confided in my dad, and he said, why don't you join me as an agent in the insurance business? I said, is he freaking crazy? Me, an agent? I mean, everybody plans to be an agent in elementary school, right?
Yeah, right.
So anyway, and then he said the magic words that changed my mind and my future. We're closed on Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah. So I was sold. Yes, I worked alongside him for 11 years, but I was hungry to start an agency of my own. So I started my first agency from scratch in the next county, and it took off. So back to the point of your story, that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it was taken off, digging back and trying to think about those times, because it's easy to look back and be like, oh, we did this, and this, and it worked, right?
Right.
How many things do you think that you tried that did not work, or that like utterly failed to get to those things? Or was it something, because of your insurance experience working with your dad's agency, that you were like, you know what, I kind of know what I'm going to do here because I've been doing this for, years now. And so I'm going to branch out and I'm going to do all these things that he, doesn't want to do or won't do or whatever. How many failures did it take you to go through to get to the successful recipe that you found for growing an insurance agency?
I'm going to be very clear here, and I want to use it as an encouragement, because we call them lessons nowadays, not failures.
Okay. A more appropriate term.
Yeah. You never lose.
Yeah. Right.
You never lose.
It feels like a failure when you're going through it, though. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go there in
Yeah.
a second. But, you never lose. You either win or you learn. Okay. So I'm going to suggest in the early days, I was failing twice as much as I was winning, if not 3-1.
Yeah.
And so, but that's was, my first 11 years when I was cutting my teeth. I was learning the industry, making a lot of mistakes. I didn't have any mentors. I had people that were suggesting what I could do, but they were not as driven to a level that I was internally. So anyway, it was my turning point was last century. I went in 1999. I went to an event, and I'm sitting there in the event. And I said, oh, it was about a year after I started my own agency from scratch. I said, oh my gosh, they've got it all figured out. There were these agents sharing, what they had done. And I said, these people have it all figured out. I'm just going to take their ideas and become a massive implementer. And from that moment forward, it changed everything. So, I got into coaching. I got in with some mentors. I learned the right way to do it, eliminated at least 2/3 of the failures because, they had already done it. They helped me eliminate the failures. The very first thing I did out of that event, I learned social proof and testimonials. I created a risk removal written guarantee. I created a referral program. I created a welcome kit. We started the newsletter series and systems. And then just the massive amount of marketing that we did. We were direct mail marketing fiends. I mean, we were dropping 12 to 15,000 pieces a month, and we learned niche marketing. And as they say, the rest is history.
Sure. So direct mail marketing, do you think, I mean, do you still recommend those things for agents today? I mean, because obviously 1999 is a much different time than 2024, but you still those are still effective means.
100% yes. I agree. It's situational.
Yeah.
And it's not for every situation or every industry, but I think that here's what I believe. If you want to reach 100% of the marketplace, you've got to use 100% of the ways.
Hmm.
And one of the fold-ins, people are thinking, well, that's expensive, or maybe I don't have the resources. Well, then we teach client segmentation or tiering. It's said in certain parts of the country, same thing, right? That will help you identify, because it's back to the Pareto principle. I will suggest that possibly as much as 70 or 80% of your gross revenue might be generated by 20 or 30% of your clients.
Usually, yeah.
So that's where the segmentation and tiering comes in. You've got to break those out and identify who they are. And those are the ones you want to take care of, because you never hear from them. They pay their bills. They don't have claims. They're compliant. But we can't let the bottom 20 drag us along, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's good to know. What would you say? And you going back real quick, your welcome kit that's in there. I want to touch on that before we move on, because that to me was like, when I read that, and I'd never thought of doing anything like that. When we started our agency long time ago, we were in the state of Washington, and there's the rebating laws and stuff like that. So it's like $20. Couldn't go over $20 for any customer. So whenever somebody wrote a policy, and we specialized in construction contractors, we would send them out a handwritten thank you card and a $10 Starbucks gift card. And then it got to the point where we had on our kitchen table like mounds of thank you cards and $10 Starbucks gift cards. And it got to the point where we had to switch that process to something else, because it just became basically super labor intensive when you're sending out hundreds of these things every month. So we switched it. But when I read that, it was like that idea on steroids, with the balloon coming out of the box and all this different stuff. I was like, man, that's, creating a raving fan base to get that 80, 90, 100% retention ratio that every agency in the country is looking for. It was just like one of those, genius things. And that was actually the very first thing that we started, like, okay, we're going to put together a kit for people. And so that was one of the very first things that we did from reading your book. And then actually, my daughter, who ended up coming back to work with me, I gave her your book, and I was like, you need to read this section. You need to take the notes page in the back of that chapter, and write down what this means to you and how you would implement this here, and use your own ideas. You don't have to use $1 million bill or whatever. But what do you think we should do? Because she's a designer at heart, so she loved that section. And actually, right before the interview, I asked her, I was like, "Hey, where's that book that I gave you?" And she was like, "It's around here somewhere." And because she's in there doing kits right now, as we
Awesome.
record this interview. And so, but just stuff like that, it was like, man, this is just incredible stuff. That's like, basically, the ounce of effort and the pound of result sort of situation. And I lost my train of thought on where I was going with the
All
next
good.
question I have, but that's okay. So, I guess what piece of advice for agency owners that either feel stuck or agency owners that are brand new and just trying to break in, and because obviously probably the people that are just rolling it in, they're not, really the people that feel like they've figured it out. This is not the unstoppable profit producer target audience. But I'd say most agents don't fall in those buckets, right? We either feel like we're stuck and we've hit a cap and we're just not growing at what we want to, or we're not growing at all, or we feel like we don't know what to do. We're brand new in this industry. There's such a high failure rate. Of people coming in and exiting the industry, like, what do I need to do differently? What's the number one piece of advice besides reading The Unstoppable Profit Producer? What's the number one piece of advice that you should immediately do starting right now?
Here's my bottom line, and I encourage everybody that I'm privileged to talk with on this one thing. If you want to have more, you have to become more, because you attract exactly what you are and who you've become. So the first thing you need to get to work on is yourself. You need to find a groove. I mean, I invest an hour and a half every single morning, 2 days, still 2 days, in myself before I even think about opening up an email, an electronic device, or anything else. Because if I want to have more, I have to become more. So you need to get to work on yourself. You need to find your groove. You need to find what works for you. And if you're doing something right now and it's not working for you, you need to change it. Because if you're willing to change, everything will change for you. But you got to be willing to change. So that's really where you need to start. So once you get yourself in the right mindset, because your mindset is your skill set, that's when everything can begin to change for you. And you've got to invest in the right things to put into your mindset that will help you, get creative ideas to find the right things that are going to move the needle on your business. And as the encouragement says, which was the turning point in my career evolution, which is created generational wealth for my family. That's the result, the desired outcome, right? I got in with people who were mentors and who knew more than I did, and I just followed what they taught. So when you can, absolutely do that as well, because the law of familiarity is always in effect. I mean, you got your daughter. Let's take your daughter as an example. We have 6 children as well,
Yeah.
right? There comes a point when, did you ever say to your daughter, "Hey, honey, I want to help you about that," and they go, "Yeah, Dad. Okay, Dad."
All the time.
The law of familiarity, it's
Right.
it's human nature. We can't do anything about it. They're so familiar with you, they just blow you off, right?
Right.
So, but when somebody from the outside comes in, maybe an authority figure, and says, "Well, did you think about doing this, this, and this?" You go, "Wow." And you're thinking, "I've been telling them the same thing for years."
Yep. I read that in
Right?
part of your book about your staff meetings too.
Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly. So that's why it's good to get outside counsel.
Sure.
And to a point that you just mentioned, I believe our program is for everybody. I mean, because a large segment of our program is people that are super high achieving. I mean, multi 7-figure agencies, but that's why they continue to grow their multi 7-figure agent revenue, by the way, multi 7-figure revenue agencies, because they're in coaching, fueling the next great idea or the next turning point in their business.
100%. Now, so what do you spend an hour and a half on? What is your routine? And then I guess, is that applicable to an agency owner, or is your routine specific to you because of where you're at? Your agency has now been acquired. Your financial security is set. You're helping other agents do the same thing. So when you spend an hour and a half in the morning working on Mike, what does that look like?
Well, I did it this morning, so it's easy to remember.
Yep.
So we'll wrap with this. Sound good?
Yes. Yes.
So I got out of bed this morning. I went up and I did my stretching.
Okay.
I did my sit-ups. I did my push-ups. And then I end up on my knees. So it's my prayer time. It's my personal time. So I got up from that. We have multiple properties in our world nowadays. So I'm up at one of our mountain properties. Right here next to me, I have my Peloton bike because it's cold with mountain lions outside.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I get on my Peloton bike. I've got my audio headset on. And right now I'm listening to the Jim Rohn Ultimate Library series. And he was going through his goal setting habits this morning. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be going through this one on my way home later on this afternoon with my wife driving so I can be writing notes because I need to capture some of those ideas that I haven't thought about that quite philosophy yet. See, that's where the day you stop learning is the day you stop growing. So after I did that, I got off my Peloton. I went in and made some coffee. I made my shake and I intentionally eat a certain way. I fuel my body and my mind with the right stuff. Then I have a couple of different devotionals that I study. I've got another book for my head. I'm currently reading 177 mental toughness secrets of the world class. I read one secret a day. And then I have a series that I watch 5 days a week, which is a video series from Darren Hardy called Darren Daily. It's free to anybody out there. I recommend you get on that as well. And then I have a progression of other things on a checklist. I still pay attention to my numbers every morning. I check bank numbers and various other things. Some maybe not all the time investment stuff that I've got going on, but I'm an investor in InsurTechs and various other things out there. So I just make sure everything's set for the day because when I'm done with that full hour and a half, I want to make sure my mind is completely focused, completely clear on every single thing that I'm doing.
Perfect.
Oh, and the other thing that I do is when I get done with my exercise, whatever it is, when I'm at home, I have a different exercise regimen, but I do it, right? Yes, every single day.
Yeah.
There's no days off, right? So with that being said, I come in and while the coffee's brewing, I write a handwritten note to my wife. I put it in her car because she's a night owl. I'm a morning guy. And it's basically a thank you note. I find one thing that sometimes it's thank you for doing the laundry, but it's that thing. And so I get that probably about 5 days a week, but it's made a huge difference in our relationship for the better. Not that it was in a bad place, but
yeah,
got to keep getting better every day, right?
Yep, and we say that all the time. If you don't have a successful family, no matter what the business side looks like, you're not going to be successful because
I can only agree. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and so whatever is going on in family, we stop all trains and we fix that before we do anything with the business because otherwise it doesn't matter.
100% agree.
Mike, thank you so much. I hope you'll come back. I would like to do something, some kind of mentorship or something if we can, because this has been fantastic. I really, really appreciate it. How can people get your book?
I'll be happy to send a free copy. They can just go to, let's do this. Let's make it faster and easier.
Yeah.
Go to VIP, send us an email at VIP, very important person, which is you, VIP at upplife.com, upplife.com. And in the subject line, put unstoppable book.
All
Put
right.
an unstoppable book in the subject line. Make sure that you put your shipping address in the body of the email. We will get it out to you right away with our compliments under one condition. You must take action. And Abe, next time through the book, make sure you go through each chapter. As I'm sure you picked up, each chapter has an action items page.
Yes.
Write down the action items and take action, everybody. You got this.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate it. This has been great.
All right, Abe. Yeah, let's get to part 2 sometime soon.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.